What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Car Chats. I'm your host, Hanley. I'll have a special guest on in a minute, a mental health nurse from South Carolina. Her name's Katie Greer. Just going to send her the invite right now. And there we go. Hi,
Oh,
Katie.
hi. It
How you
worked.
doing? Yeah, it did.
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I just let everybody know that you're just coming on. You're a mental health nurse from South Carolina, and you're just coming on to chat with me a little about it because I know we've been planning something. So this will be a little warm up before our big one.
Sure. Just a little impromptu. I have nothing better to do because I'm in isolation because I have COVID right now. So I've just been by myself for the past 5 days.
And how have you been feeling? You feeling all right, or?
Yeah, I'm feeling much better. I actually got really sick. Like I had the chest tightness and shortness of breath and achy fever and everything.
Right, and so I'm assuming then you weren't vaccinated prior to this, or is it a breakthrough case?
Yeah, I do. I had my vaccine, so
Oh,
I'm.
so it's a breakthrough case then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just super unfortunate.
I know,
You know, you
really.
try your best to avoid it, and then bam, it has to hit you.
Yeah, yeah, and I
So,
actually, obviously, I'm like, tell people online all the time, I'm super OCD about germs, so I sanitize everything and try to keep everything so clean, and I'm the only one out of our whole house that got it, so
and you're a mother of one or two children,
three.
three, sorry.
That's okay.
And how are they like reacting to it? Are they constantly worried about mommy? Are they always checking on you?
Um, no, not at all.
Kids will be kids.
Yeah, I think they're loving, like, not,
The freedom.
yeah, I think so. The first weekend, actually, everyone else was in Charleston, and I was at home with my son, who's 10, and he was diagnosed with autism when he was a kid, like young, but mostly like ADHD now and very high functioning. But he loves video games, so like he was so excited. He got to eat donuts like all weekend and play video games because I was like dead.
Sounds like a good time to me, and I'm 32.
I know. Me too.
And how long have you been a mental health nurse for?
Well, I've been a nurse for 11 years total, and I've worked in mental health for at least 4 of those years, if not even 5. But I've always worked in community health or chronic care management and like that.
Right, and so you're around it quite a bit, obviously. So you get a first-hand experience with people who are coming in, whether they're coming in checking themselves in or they're coming in by an emergency vehicle or just through a crisis that's happening. What do you find you see the most of? Because you're in South Carolina, I'm in Canada, so I'm sure the way we see things are similar but different in the way that they're handled uh, at the hospitals and things like
Yeah,
that.
definitely. Everything's really strange right now because I feel like even in the emergency room, they're not keeping.
I think you cut out.
Oh, I think the acuity level of the patients that are inpatient is so much higher than it used to be. Um, but I think that mostly right now, the patients that we're seeing a lot of is depression and anxiety, and I think that's always majority of the patients, but I think right now more than ever, our caseload has gone up tremendously just with everything going
Right.
on. Yeah.
And while you're, like you said, you have COVID right now and you're in isolation, do you find that's triggering your mental health a lot? Because I see your posts, a lot of them are very like to raise awareness for people and things like that, and to spread the message and help fight the stigma. And you bring that to the table a lot with your posts. But personally, where you're sitting right now, how are you feeling mental health wise?
Well, I feel really good because personally a lot of my anxiety is like triggered when I'm around people or with like certain situations. So being by myself is kind of pleasant and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have a mild form of agoraphobia, so being around crowds and stuff is just not my thing. It's just public transportation, any of that. I'm like, nope, no thanks.
Yeah, it
But
can be very like anxiety provoking for sure.
very, and like I'm accustomed to panic attacks, and when they come, they're not just like mild. They're either really, really heavy or they don't come at all. So I'm usually like either shaking my legs, like one of the symptoms, or just fidgeting with my hands, or just fidgeting in general. So do you find that you get that like when you're like around people, like the same sort of vibe? Like,
Um, I think for me, well, yeah, I'm fidgety. I do that. Honestly, I I'm terrible with eye contact. That's like my worst. I have to really work on that for sure.
okay, and what do you think it is with the eye contact? You just don't want to like you want to talk to the person, you just don't want to like.
Yeah, like the minute I look at people, my anxiety gets even higher. I'm
Okay,
not sure where it stems from. I really don't know.
and are you like not to pry or anything? You don't have to answer this if you don't want to right now. But are you diagnosed with anything specific? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I've been diagnosed with anxiety, ADHD, well, ADD and OCD.
okay,
Yeah.
I find a lot of people who suffer with mental health and mental illness. A lot of them have OCD, whether it's just like rearranging everything on their desk over and over, or they're just like with the germs, like you had mentioned uh, earlier, and things like that. I find that OCD, like anxiety, is almost comes with a lot of these mental health issues and mental illnesses. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it overlaps. And then a lot of times when you have OCD or something like that, it can lead to depression because of all the recurring thoughts that you have in your head over and over. It just gets depressing. And then it kind of inhibits you from like your daily activities and stuff like that, too.
Yeah, definitely. And with you when you're having one of your days where you're like you have to be mom and you have to obviously do the things that a mother needs to do, what do you find helps you like get through that day if you're struggling that day?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot harder when they were younger because they depended on me much more.
Mhm.
But I think for me, like when I just want to go way back, like when I was actually diagnosed with anxiety and all that, when I had my first, and I was pretty young, I was 24, and it was just her and I was like starting to have like panic attacks and stuff, which I never had before. Um, and really had no idea what anxiety was because in my family we didn't really talk about mental illness or mental wellness or anything of that sort. It was just like, oh, you're having a bad day, or oh, if you're upset, you don't talk about it. You just, I don't know, go
And
for
I
a
feel like
walk or
I
something.
feel
I don't.
like a lot of people in like from like our age groups and like growing up, our parents were like similar in that it's just a bad day, you'll get over it, it's a phase, etc., and things like that. But You know, it's more than a phase, especially if it's continuous, and you can't just let go of something like that. You know what I mean? You can't just tell it to take a break. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's like sadness, and that's totally different than depression because, when you're feeling sad, you do get over it. And being sad is something like obvious, like I got my feelings hurt today, but depression you can't just like get over. It's chronic and
Exactly.
something you manage.
And so I got that the book that you sent me.
Oh, good.
Uh, do you want to tell the whoever's watching a little bit about it right now, about what it's about, what it entails, what its goal is? Because it's for a younger audience, obviously.
Yeah, so that's kind of just something I did on the side. Actually, like a long time ago, 4 years ago, I wrote a children's book, and I wrote it when my kids were younger, just because I thought it would be helpful for any kids like starting kindergarten, just to have a little bit of an idea of what they were getting themselves into. Because I feel like we just throw people into things.
Hmm.
Little people, I mean, like we're like, oh, you're starting school. Here's your new outfit. Here's this, but just to like sit down and talk to them about it, and then about different social skills, because like I said, with my son being diagnosed with autism, we really had to sit down and tell him, like, when you see a person, you say hello, um ask them how they're doing, because that kind of thing didn't come natural to him.
Right, and yeah, I guess like the book is also a good tool to help them with mental preparedness for going into a new environment that they're not totally used to yet.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's definitely the feel I got from it. Like it's made for a younger audience, but I read it, and I think it's really great that you did something like that because the younger that they're educated on mental health, and it's okay to talk about it, man or woman, obviously because men have the complex of not wanting to reach out for feeling weak, and then others, like some women, just don't want to reach out just because they don't want to feel like they're complaining or acting like their life's worse than someone else. But that goes for men as well, not just women. But
Yeah, it
when
definitely
it
does.
comes to men, it comes to like us, like I guess a, not a superiority complex really, but like just that try to put on a brave face and act like nothing's wrong.
Well, yeah, I see it in my son a lot. Like, if he gets upset about something, he does not cry anymore, and he's 10. But I can see like his little lips start to quiver, and his face goes completely like stoic, and then he just like shuts it all in, and then he goes and does something else.
Right. So, like I was saying in an interview I had just done with a radio host from my city just before I went live with you, we were talking about how every year, if you look at the statistics on mental health and mental illness, or even the suicide rates, the ages are getting younger and younger. I mean, when you hear a story about 9 and 10 year olds either attempting or going all the way through with suicide, it should be an eye opener that we need to talk more about it. I mean, but
I
it
know.
seems like more people get pushed back because they're scared to talk about that because they don't want it to be their son, their daughter, their niece, their nephew, their brother, their sister, etc., their mom, dad, whatever the case is. But the ages are constantly dropping while the numbers are drastically jumping.
Yeah, and I've seen like with COVID and everything, one thing that was very shocking to me, I was working in an outpatient like medical facility where I was doing more of chronic care management, but I went back into psychiatry after COVID started and started back at the hospital. And the young children, like adolescents, like 16, 17, and 20s, I was thinking it would be more of the older people that were affected because they were
Right.
so isolated and everything. But it's not, it's their age group. And I think it's because they're so social at that age and they're learning and they're like hopeful for all these things and they weren't able to do them. And I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely during COVID, I find that with the amount of isolation that people were dealing with, not only was causing their mental health to deteriorate, sorry, a little bit, but also add in social media and the negative aspects that come with it, because there's pros and cons to it. But I think the negativity that people see online or directed at them, even if it's just a troll or something, just being rude or a jerk to someone, they're
Yeah.
adding both of them together and it's not gonna help their situation. So I feel with isolation came out a lot more content for people who do things like I do online and stuff, but a lot of it was based around just COVID, and it was all negative, and it put fear in people. It really instilled fear in a lot of people, and fear doesn't go very well with mental health and mental illness either. So
Mm-mm.
it's like COVID was just one big bang to like it exacerbate mental health and illness. So not only is it killing people as a respiratory infection or disease, it's having people kill themselves because of the isolation and just suffering in silence.
Yeah. That's such a good point.
And yeah, it's just there's so much going on with COVID and how it affected people. It's just I feel like these conversations are needed much more nowadays, especially since people like to act aware, but they don't like to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. And uh, the other thing is, if you're not feeling well, the system itself, at least in the US, it's like very hard to get in to see a psychiatrist. So, say you're not feeling good, you wait, I don't know, a year before you actually go, which most people, I think, I can't remember. I used to know this off the top of my head, but I want to say it's like 10 years before people usually seek treatment on average. Um, so what happens is when you start to feel bad and deteriorate, then you can't get in to see the psychiatrist. Then, like 3 months later, you get in to see them. Then they might order a medication, and then the insurance won't approve it. So then you have to wait like 2 more weeks for the insurance to do a prior authorization for a medication, and then it takes like 2 or 3 weeks for an antidepressant to work. So, I mean, you're just I don't know. I just encourage people to not waste time to go seek
Get it,
help.
get it as soon as they can.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
agree. Um, well, for now, I think it was a good little startup interview until we get the podcast episode rolling. But it was really great talking to you, Katie. I'm glad that we could do this, have a little insight, a little more conversation on mental health, because I know we've been planning it for a while.
Yeah.
Um,
I
I
hope
want to
you're
thank you.
feeling good. Have you been feeling good?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm doing better.
Yeah, because you've been through a lot lately.
Yeah, slowly but surely, I'm getting there.
Good. Good,
I
good.
appreciate that. Thank you for checking in.
You're welcome.
And you're in South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
And whereabouts?
In Greenville, it's
Oh,
like,
okay, you're in Greenville.
yeah, it's like near the mountains.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, it is. It's
So I definitely will arrange a date soon when I have everything sorted out with this season of the podcast, and I'll send a date to you. Maybe we could get it done in a week or so while you're recovering. And since you said you have all the time in the world right now,
I do.
And yeah, it's definitely been great meeting you and talking to you on here. And I appreciate you coming on to my platform and giving some insight and your thoughts on everything. I hope you feel better soon. And yeah, everybody who tuned in, if you're still tuning in, give Katie and myself a follow for more content like this. She posts a lot of motivational things and a lot of things that I think need to be looked at more. And I hope that when we have our podcast interview, that we'll have a more in-depth conversation and we'll get more into your career as a mental health nurse and maybe hear some personal stories from you that you could possibly share. And maybe someone listening will relate and it'll give them the extra push to go get the help that they think they need.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
That'd be great.
Fun
So
day.
again, thank you so much, Katie Greer, right?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So from Greenville, South Carolina, again, thank you again. I've been your host, Hanley, and we'll talk a bit. We'll talk again soon. Sorry.
Good night.
Good night. Have a good one.
You
And
too.
I hope your kids enjoyed the donuts and video games.
Yeah.
See you
Bye.
later.